A question which I'm sometimes asked is, Peter, should I be targeting or specifically looking for repossessed properties? Because I've heard that you can buy repossessed properties at a bargain price. So just to start with, what is a repossessed property? Well, a repossessed property is a property where there's been a mortgage, but the borrower has gone into default, and so the bank have stepped in and they've repossessed the property. The banks, when they lend a mortgage, they'll have what they call a charge on the property, which will be registered at land registry, and a first charge will allow the bank to be able to take the property back off a defaulting borrower. So once a borrower gets into arrears, there's a whole legal process which the bank has to go through, and it can take many, many months. And eventually it'll end up in court, and the judge will give a repossession order, and the bank will be able to take the property back off the borrower. The borrower will have to move out. At that point they effectively become homeless unless they've made other arrangements. They'll have to clear all of their stuff out. The bank will take over the property, and what they'll invariably do is they'll sit on it for a bit. They'll get somebody in to manage it, although there's nobody in the property, and then eventually they'll get around to selling it. So how will we recognise a repossessed property when we're out and about doing our viewings? Well, you might be able to recognise a repossessed property even before you do your viewings, because what you will sometimes see on Rightmove and Zoopla and on themarket.com and wherever else you're looking for your properties is stickers. Stickers on the taps, stickers on the toilet, stickers on the electrical consumer unit, stickers on gas appliances. And why is that? Because when the bank repossess, they will send in an electrician and a gas engineer and a plumber, basically to drain the property down, to switch off the utilities, and they'll put stickers on to cover themselves, basically, so that anybody going around looking at the property, the electricity will be off so that anybody who's looking at the property can't electrocute themselves. The water will be off so that the property can't flood if the pipes burst in winter. So they're looking after themselves and looking after the asset, which is good, because the bank will be selling the property, and they're under a duty of care, obviously, to look after the property and to make sure that it's in the very best condition, that it can be at least no worse condition than when they took it over, so that they can get the best possible price for it. So you might see the stickers when you're online looking for your properties, deciding which properties to view. If you can't see them on the photos, you may well see them when you get around to the property and start viewing. And here are some examples of stickers that I saw recently. You see that there's stickers on pretty much everything to do with electricity, water and gas. But that's not the only way that you'll recognise whether a property is a repossession. When you go on to Rightmove, it's not going to say repossessed property, please make us an offer. But when you talk to the agents, they will sometimes say something like, well, this is a corporate sale. And corporate sale nowadays is the new word for repossession. Repossession is a little bit sort of, evocative, not politically correct. So they call them corporate sales. So that's a clue as well. The other thing, of course, is when you go and do your inspection, as well as the stickers, there could be mail all over the hall, which nobody's cleaned up because there's nobody been there for ages, and the mail just keeps coming through the letterbox. And it could well be even that if the borrower had to leave in a hurry, there could be loads of their stuff there just left abandoned. And in extreme cases, when somebody's taken umbrage with the bank for repossessing them, they might even do damage to the property as well. I've seen and bought a repossessed property where, just out of anger, the borrower has taken the bathroom out, for example, so the property needed a new bathroom. So behind the question, which I'm always asked, which is, should I target repossessions, there's the implication that a repossession is going to be great value for money. And I think this comes from perhaps the recessions we've seen in the past, the recession of the 90s particularly, when a lot of properties were repossessed and a lot of properties ended up in auction, and they were sold at stupid prices. But they weren't sold at stupidly low prices because they are repossessions. They were sold at stupidly low prices because there was a recession and everything was selling at stupidly low prices. But I think maybe in the public psyche we got into this idea that a repossession is always going to be a bargain. Now, the thing which works against this is that nowadays, and we saw this in 2008 when there was the financial crisis, that the government stepped in and encouraged the banks not to repossess so many properties. So repossessions aren't as easy to find now as they used to be. But also I think that what people may not realise is that the bank is under a duty of care to get the very best possible price. So that is going to determine how they actually sell the property. There's two main places where you're going to find a repossessed property. The first is in auctions and the second is through an estate agent in the normal way. And as I say, the estate agents aren't going to flag up that it's a repossession. They're not going to advertise the property as being a repossessed property, make us an offer, but they may tell you when you ask about the history of the property why the property is for sale. They may say, well, it's a corporate sale. So I think that the idea that just because a property is repossessed means you're going to get it at bargain price is not true, unless you happen to be watching this video at a time when the property market has crashed or is crashing, and more people are being repossessed, because usually when the property market's crashing, unemployment is going up. There's a reason why the economy is not doing well. More people are defaulting on their mortgages, more properties are being repossessed, and the banks are trying to sell them, and there's more properties to sell and there's less buyers to buy them, and then the price will go down. But in the normal course of things, in a normal economy, whatever that means nowadays, a repossessed property should, in theory, sell for the same kind of price that any other property should sell for. There's no special discount for it being repossessed. Another thing which we need to think about is, because the banks are under a duty of care to get the best possible price, they also can be quite tough when it comes to agreeing terms. So what typically happens is, even if you find a repossessed property, and even if you make an offer, and even if the bank accept the offer, what the agent will often tell you, because they're under instructions from the bank to do this, is that the offer will be accepted and you can go to your solicitor and you can start getting yourself ready by having searches and getting to a point where you can exchange contracts. But they will continue to show the property to see if they can find a buyer at a higher price. So they will tell you up front, basically, that you have the possibility of being gazumped. And that's okay, because in their world what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the best possible price, because at some point the bank, if there's any money left over after they've taken what they're owed, need to pass the money on to the borrower, whatever's left over. Usually there's nothing left over and the borrower is still in debt even when the bank has sold. But they will tell you, basically, we will make the possibility that you could be gazumped. So you can make an offer, it can be accepted, you get your solicitor working on it, you maybe have a survey, you spend money, and then somebody comes along who offers more and the bank decide to go with them. So there are risks involved in offering on repossessed property. So would I specifically target repossessed properties as a strategy? Well, no, I wouldn't, to be honest, because there's many reasons why you may be able to find a property at a bargain price, what we could call below market value, for want of a better term. Repossessions is one of them, and if I came across a repossession which I thought I could get at a good price, then obviously I'd be interested and I would try, but I'd be aware obviously that I could be gazumped and cut out of the deal at any point. And I'd also be aware that there's other reasons why people may want to sell cheaply, usually because they want to sell quickly, and that can be a more secure way of buying than just trying to target repossessions. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't necessarily make it my only strategy. I hope you found this video useful and informative, and if you did, then please come over to my website www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk, where you'll find loads more great property related resources, including free special reports to download and my best-selling series of ebooks, which includes the Successful Property Renovators Workshop, 63 common defects in investment property and how to spot them. And if you're just starting out in property, or if you want to grow your portfolio, you may be particularly interested in the Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, in which I'll take you through exactly how I started and built my property portfolio, starting literally with none of my own money, and how I built a portfolio of £2 million worth of property in just 4 years. And that was starting from scratch. I'll take you through everything that I did right so that you can copy me and do the same. And I'll also show you everything that I did wrong so that you can avoid the mistakes that I made, and so that you can progress in property and be far more successful far more quickly than I ever was. And this is based upon my own real life experience, and it took me about 4 years to actually work out how to do property investing properly. But in the 200 pages in the Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, I'm going to show you all of that 4 years knowledge condensed down so that you can use it immediately. And until next time, Here's to successful property investing.